welcome to Who Dares Rolls. It's very fucking early. Isaac got me up at fucking 6 this morning. It's very early in the morning. It's Saturday. It is February, the very early Feb. 3rd, 4th, something like that, around that area. Oh God, this really annoyed me. Yeah, anyway, all that stuff. Here we are, Mumbo Jumbo, Mike, me, here's this, Who Does Rolls. Yes, we're all here. It's early. Fuck me, I'm a bit discombobulated. I think we're probably going to skip any other preamble and dive straight into what I've played. So let's fucking do that. Played. Coffee. So played quickly last night. Actually, we replayed a game of Apiary and Friday night crowd. Zip through that again. One of the factions they had, Bob had the faction which allows you to increase the bees rate number every round. You can increase it or decrease it, and he did similar to what Jamie, I'm fucking struggling with names today. Jamie did the other day in a game we played of Apiary where he just was bumping all his bees up to 4 as quick as he can, and they were hibernating like fucking anything, and the game just was like racing to finish before anyone else could do anything. So yeah, that happened. I can't remember who won. Ben won, so he didn't actually help Bob. I forgot to take my phone as well, so we have no Bob review this week. And then we played a bunch of other stuff, but just one and some other bits, which is fine. Medici, I think it is, which is a Knitzia game. It's out of print at the moment. Holy Grail Games were the last one to publish it, and then they had to shit the bed. I remember rightly as a publisher. Fucking dog! I knew we'd do this. I meant to warn you. Dog's in the garden. He might start being a tit. And here we go. Anyway, Medici, played that. Minor Knitzia game, out of print at the moment, though I do think I remember hearing literally the other day that someone is reprinting it, whose name escapes me, but it is going to reprint. It's an auctioning game, bidding auction game, unlike a rondelle. You have cards come out of different resources. I'll have to steal some images in Board Game Geek. And you use your victory points to bid every round over 3 rounds. So it whips along at a fair rate of knots. I remember playing it before and then had completely forgotten it. To be fair, I quite enjoyed it in what it is. It's an auction game, very quick, zip through, played it a couple of times. It was good, and this version had written to Twitter. I don't know what the new version, I can't remember who was publishing it, as I say. If I find out, it can be asked, I might put it out here, just for you. Or I just might not be bothered. So there, we did that. Anyway, all that out of the way. So the big one we played was, well, we played a couple of things. We played, last week, we played Fast and Furious Highway Heist, which is something I picked up very, very, very cheap. And it's set on my shelf of shame for probably a few months, I'll be honest with you. But it was going sub £10 at one point on Amazon or somewhere. So I took a punt, pardon me. And it's a game, Fast and Furious. It's ludicrous. It's stupid. There's a lot of stuff in the box actually for what it is. Another Prospero Hall game. The idea is it's a co-op game, you against something on the board, and there's 3 scenarios. One of them's against a tank, one of them's against a helicopter, and I think the other's against a semi. And you're essentially manoeuvring your cars around with a couple of actions to turn you, lots of dice rolling, and you're trying to, most of the games seem to focus around you wrecking other cars to take out the big boss. The first one we played was a tank mission, which is exactly that. You've got to try and get cars in front and trash them to take it out. There's different stunts you can do, which means basically the placement of your cars and the enemy cars allow you to do these stunts, which then give you stuff. And dice rolling for things and stuff. Perfectly fine. Absolutely fun. You can get out of your car and jump from car to car to car. Ludicrous, just like the later Fast and the Furious movies, which frankly jumped the shark space. I don't know. A while back. I think number 5 is the high watermark for Fast and the Furious, and then from there onwards, it descends into utter ludicrous. Almost, they're superhero movies, really. Frankly, and Vin Diesel's ego and all that. But yeah, I personally find them ridiculous now, but 5 was quite good. Anyway, game is, from what I've seen, it cheap. If you pick it up cheap and you want a co-op game with stupidity on it, then and you like those movies, then I would say yes, I recommend that, just purely for that. Lovely. The big one we did was we played Dune Imperium Uprising. It was a game I was initially quite interested in when it was first announced, and then I kind of called a bit because I thought, well, I've got the base game and the expansions, do I really need this? So I didn't panic to buy it, and I put it on my birthday list, and then son number 2 purchased me Dune Imperium Uprising. So I was like, as it was my birthday the other week, closest we came to the weekend of playing it, it was my birthday game choice. I decided we would give Dune Imperium Uprising a go. It's messing with mojo just being there. So yeah, we did that. So very quick. Well, I say very quickly. I try and be as brief as I can. I wasn't expecting a massive amount from this. I just kind of presumed it was going to be like a massaged version of the original game. It's really a lot of big changes. A lot of changes, but not changes. That makes sense. So the main board, pretty much all the actions on it, within reason, have been changed. A lot of the main big ones have. You've still got the factions on the side, and they're relatively the same. But a lot of other stuff outside of the little bit in the middle of the thing is kind of altered what you're getting for it, which is kind of cool. There's no dreadnoughts in this version. There is instead worms, which adds quite a significant swingy nature to it. So if you can get a sandworm, if you win then a battle, you will double the benefits of that fight, which is pretty big. To get sandworms, you have to go to a specific place, be in league with a Fremen, and then you can get a hook. And then when you then get the hook, you can then subsequently on another board space actually get a worm. So there is a little bit of a process to get to it. But once you get worms, they go straight into the battle. They're power free, and as I say, if you win those fights, they give you a significant buff. At the start of the game, the shield wall was in place. If you know the Herbert books, the shield wall was a big rock face that protects the main sort of area of the city on that from storms and worms. So that could be taken out in the game. So while the shield wall was in place, worms cannot fight in those areas of the board. Once it's gone, it's open season all across the board for everywhere. So that's that. Fundamentally, there's quite a few changes on there on that. On the cards, there's again a lot of changes on that, on the intrigue and the battle cards. Some quite nice tweaks to those. I like the new economy of this book. The whole economy of it is different. You really are coming at it in an entirely different way. Even though you know the game, you really have to kind of go, oh, you know, what do I aim for? What do I do for? It comes with a mini expansion, which is the Chome expansion, which we've just played straight out of the box with, which just gives you some tiles that you can pick up that essentially are contracts for the Chome Corporation that you're trying to fulfill. So it usually will mean you sending an agent to a board to do something to get a payout. So yeah, I was really taken aback by how cool this was, how good it was. I didn't add any of the expansions from the base game because you can throw in more Immortality and Ix apparently into this. I'm not sure I would. I think they've mentioned that there's some balancing issues if you do it, and frankly, I was more than satisfied actually with how that base game played. And the leanness of it with not having all a bit of the bloat of the expansions in there. If you enjoyed Dune Imperium and have played it and play it a lot, or really enjoy what it's doing, I can heartily recommend Dune Imperium Uprising because it is more of the same, but it is a very refreshing change and all that with some new leaders, new factions, and all that. And also, whether I ever get around to doing it, but you can play a 6-player game with this now, where it's 2 sort of separate teams battling out. Don't know if we ever get around to doing that. Interesting. Would be interested to see how that plays out, but you know, I can take it. But yes, overall, Dune Imperium Uprising, I was very much surprised and taken aback by it. Really enjoyed it. And if you're a fan of it, then you might want to look at picking that up. If you've not played any of them, it's a good jumping on point, although I would say it feels a lot more thinky than the original Imperium base game. It does feel like a 2.0 version of that. It's kind of, everything's a little bit refined, everything's a little streamlined, but it did really feel, coming at it from having played Imperium quite a few times, that there was a whole different thought set on it. And it did feel a lot more like there was a lot more tactics and strategy to what you were doing in that game versus the original base game, in my personal opinion. But yeah, really, really good. I enjoyed that. Very nice. Very recommended. Lovely. Let's do some news.
Here is the news.
News! Top one off the thing I'll say quickly, hopefully I can get this video out relatively quickly, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre Slaughterhouse. The Possible Hall game came out exclusive to HMV, sold out very quickly in October last year. Is back currently on HMV, but it's a little bit more expensive than it was from what I recall, because I'm sure I got it about 20 quid, but it's about 25 quid now. absolute steal still, I think, at that price. Great components, really good game. And if you're a fan of the theme of the movies, Chainsaw Massacre, it does all that in spades. So recommended, news for you. Go and get that now where you can if you don't own it. If that's anything of that type of game interests you, recommended, because I don't know how long it'll be back in print again. As Funko, this is published by, are killing off their board game wing. I think they've sold it to Ravensburger, I want to say. But yeah, they're shuttering their board game development stuff, which is a bit of a shame, because they do some stuff with Prosport. It wasn't Ravensburger, it was something else, because Ravensburger do stuff. Anyway, irrelevant. I ramble. But yeah, go and get that. Get on that. What else is going on? UK B&B, Bring and Buy. The Bring and Buy at the UK Games Expo. There has been an announcement last day or so about the changes to that. Isaac's up now on the paper monitor. Handy. Changes to that, how that's going to run. There's been a lot of gnashing of teeth the last couple of years, especially last year. Huge wait times to drop off games, hours and hours, and as per usual, huge times to get in. So they are now limiting the amount of board games that people can sign in into it. So you're now limited to 20 games. And that's it. Hopefully to speed up the process of people dropping stuff off. They have said if you are caught up to shenanigans trying to sign in more than 20 games under different accounts, they will very much not be happy with you, and they're going to apparently will pull the games off sale, and anything that's sold they will donate to charity. So yeah, fair dues to them. Allegedly, apparently last year or two there was a lot of traders using this as dump for stock, which is a bit, honestly, fuck me. Doesn't surprise me. But yeah, really, and obviously people trying to game the system. I do recall people with like hundreds of fucking games signing in, which is insane. But the only downside a little bit of this is they've said that they won't allow people to go back in and tweak prices. And one of the things used to be a joy of the early days of Bring and Buy, probably more so, was that the Sundays, there was a lot of deep discounts suddenly happened. People kind of really dropped the prices of stuff they hadn't sold. So we'll see how this affects it, because essentially you're going to have to price to sell straight out the gate. So we'll see. I always enjoyed the Bring and Buy, and I've occasionally in the past found a couple of gems. Recent years, not so much. I always found it a little bit, I always liked the thought of what the Bring and Buy could be, because it used to be fucking good. I've picked up some real good stuff in the early days, some older stuff and decent prices, but it became a bit less of that in later years, with people just trying to shift fucking tons of shit that's been free all year or cheap all year at inflated costs, or just stuff at inflated costs, or just all the same old stuff. So I don't know, I've been there a few times the last few years running, and I've seen stuff and gone, oh, and then but gone, oh, it's that, do I really need it or not? There was a few bargains, but I declined them because I was controlling myself. But yeah, I don't know. We're interested to see. I've always meant to take some stuff to Bring and Buy. The problem is the effort involved. Bringing the games, taking the thing, take them up to the show, sign them in, prospect of 20 games and that being the lesser thing, I might think about it. I don't know. One of the local cafes near me is doing a Bring and Buy in a couple of weeks' time. So I might try and see if I can get some stuff shifted there, because I've got lots of stuff, and stuff is not getting played. Not going to get played again. So we'll see. So that's, anyway, yes. She who will not game actually gamed the other day. She went out with Ben to the hospital, started a board game night. Isaac sat, and she went and did that and played just one and some other stuff. And she enjoyed herself. She's gaming. I'm going to let that go, and hopefully maybe we can get round to some gaming at home at some point. So watch this space. In other news, not much to do. Sad news to say here that Carl Weathers has left us. He passed away literally the other night, I believe. Personally, for me, Weathers is always as a soft spot for him. His portrayal of Dylan in Predator. That's really, what sticks with me. He was fantastic in that. Obviously, he was in the Rocky movies. In later years, he was in Mandalorian and directed quite a few episodes and did a really fucking bang-up job of it. To be fair, I mean, he was 75. He did not look it. And, when he turned up in Mando, I really just didn't associate him for being that age. He was very active gent. Really sad to see him go. But yeah, Carl Weathers, we salute you. And I might have to sit down and watch Predator just because it's a fucking good movie. So I might do that. In other movie news as well, I noticed that Duncan Jones has pulled a fast one and has finished shooting his Road Tripper movie. which Rogue Trooper's been on the cards for a while. If you don't know what Rogue Trooper is, I will very quickly surmise it. The 2000 AD strip of a genetically engineered infantryman, the last of his kind. The rest of them all die out due to a traitor on a planet, I think I remember rightly, called New Earth, which has been chemical bombed to within an inch of its life. So everyone else fighting on it has chem suits and has to be kind of covered up to be able to breathe and survive on it and or not melt. But whereas his genetically engineered infantrymen, they could survive on it. They're all blue. The nice quirk of the comic and the character was when only other ones of the infantrymen died, their dog tags, their biochips they were called, could be inserted into his equipment. So his dead comrades' helmet, the backpack, and the gunner is them. He takes them with him, and they can communicate and talk to him. And there's some good cast of characters chucked around this. It's going to be an animated movie, but obviously they've mocapped some stuff. Can't remember the name of the actor playing the actual Rogue, but I know Berry's in it. I know Reece Shearsmith's playing Bagman, the backpack. I can't remember who else. And the Jack Doherty, I think you want to say, who's the guy in Slow Horses. He's playing, I think, Gunner. Sounds very cool. And there's some other cast, and I can't remember that. Anyway, it was most interesting. Rogue Trooper was a favourite of my dad's of the strip. Dave Gibbons did a lot of art for it, though I really also enjoyed Colin Wilson's art on Rogue Trooper. Really good. And a good comic. I don't remember. Anyway, it's a cracker. An animated movie would work a treat. For a long while, this has been hinted at by Jones, and it just thought that after post-COVID that it had just been lost to time and space. Doug Jones, he directed Moon, I think is a fucking excellent movie. He's done some other bits and pieces in between which were less a success. Source Code was, I think it was Source Code, the one with Jack Gyllenhaal. Again, interesting sci-fi slant on it. He did Mute on Netflix, which was a bit meh, and he did the big Warcraft movie, which, as fans either side or not, I personally actually quite enjoyed what he did with Warcraft. I think, considering what he had to deal with, I think he did a fucking cracking job of it, and it's a shame we never saw more of that. So he's a fan of 2000 AD, obviously Rogue Trooper. He's been on his to-do list for a long, long time. I am very positive at the thought of this, and that's think if this is popular, what other 2000 AD properties could we see? Because it's considering how mined out and the DC and Marvel and the US comic area's been in later years of movies. I mean, even we get a run of really cool animated movies of 2000 AD characters. Strontium Dog comes to mind as another one which I fucking adore. There's a whole lot of characters and some really good stuff that has not been mined of that. We've had two Dread movies. Granted, the second one was fantastic, I thought personally. We didn't see any more of that. Rogue Trooper, I hope is a success. I hope it does really well. I hope this is maybe creaking open the door for us to get a series of other either Rogue Trooper movies or potentially other cool 2000 AD characters. Very exciting, and hopefully we can see some more 2000 AD Billboard games. Would be kind of cool. I know I asked Rebellion and Unplugged at the last expo if there was a hope of a Rogue Trooper reprint, because at the time there was still the rumours of the movie. They poo-pooed it at the time. Though one wonders if that's still the case now that the movie's been greenlit. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to see it. Maybe. My only thing about Rebellion's reprinting of the old Games Workshop games like Judge Dredd and Blockmania is, especially with Blockmania, they really didn't tweak. They just put it straight back out. Judge Dredd, I think they kind of mildly tweaked it a bit for the modern market, but it'd be quite nice to see them do a bit restorations games on it, rework them maybe to even better. Hey, but if we get them, all the better, all the same. Fantastic. And that's it. I haven't really been watching you doing anything else. It's been a busy week. We're still on Game of Thrones marathon. We are now well through season 7. Yes, it's popcorn-tastic. It is now at the point I just go, I'm watching popcorn stuff. Although, having watched it, very quick, compressed thing, we've rushed through it. There is a hell of a lot of nuggets dropped to what is going to inevitably happen. And even though it's an old show, I'm not going to spoil it. Maybe not this week anyway. But it really does drop all those nuggets there. Just it feels that last season or so could have been stretched out and rushed. And there is some rather convenient plotting towards the end. But hey, I'm embracing and going with it just now, just for the sheer popcorn ludicrous of it. And that, I believe, is that. I have made some venture into the editing of the big video with me and Ben in, and I've got about 2/3 of that edited now, so hopefully I can finish it up over this weekend, week coming and get that out soon before the end of this year would be helpful. And that's it. Who knows? We'll play some games, I'm sure, over this weekend, and I will report back on that later and stuff. And this is the end. I've rambled enough. Goodbye.